If you ask anyone who knows me, they'll say that there are very few things that really grind my gears. On that limited list would be games not having shotguns, Mario Party, stealth games, and Nesquik ripping their greatest flavour out of my tight little goblin clutches by discontinuing it, those bastards. Fortunately, the first two cancel each other out, as this game neither has a shotgun nor is Mario Party. And whilst I still believe Banana Nesquik holds more validity in a society than the elderly or the young, nothing quite gets to me like stealth. Unfortunately for me, Outlast is one big stealth segment. There are 5 special things you can do in Outlast: crouch, run, climb, hide, and use a camera which allows you to see in the dark and is ultimately the big gimmick of the game. But what if it wasn't? Can I beat Outlast without the camera? In Outlast, you play as a reporter named Miles Upshaw, who has received an anonymous tip about some shady goings-on at the Murkoff Corporation and their affiliate psychiatric hospital. I pulled up to the gates of Mount Massive Asylum and did not complete Outlast without the camera. Unfortunately for me, this is a cutscene and therefore doesn't count. I will still be forced to employ my subpar stealth ability. Using the front doors seemed a little too easy, game, so I instead chose to scale the side of the building and enter through a broken window. Now I know what you're thinking. Doey, without night vision, won't the entire game be dark as shit? And to that I say, turn off all the lights in your room and try to see. This was my view for 80% of the run, and yes, it was dark as shit. This man tried to tell me something about escaping, but I got bored of listening to him and thought it would be far more fun to instead be thrown through a window by Eddie Hall and Porky Pig's illegitimate child. And ladies and gentlemen, that brings our Miles fall counter to 1. When I awoke from my almost definite concussion, a man called Father Martin was getting jiggy with me. I pretended to pass out, but he persisted and I was forced to listen to him talking about my higher purpose as one of his apostles. My current objective was very invitingly displayed on the screen. However, to open the front doors, I needed to access a security room. I found the keycard before being attacked by a man in a wheelchair. Instead of letting me leave, Father Martin had other plans and cranked a lever to get rid of the power. Before I had a chance to react, I could hear Porky Hall waddling his way down the corridor. What the game wants you to do in this part is to hide in these lockers until he grabs you and throws you out through the door. And now, I like being manhandled just as much as the next guy along, but I instead chose to run straight past him, making it to a conveniently small crack in the wall. This convenient crack also happened to lead into the basement, where I had to restart the generator.
How convenient.
You'll begin to notice a pattern with these segments of the game, so allow me to break it down in today's lesson sponsored by the viewer Sheffy. How do I post hate 101? Step 1 of these parts often involves stumbling upon something that needs to be turned on in order to proceed. In this example, it's the generator. Step 2 involves going to find 2 things on opposite sides of the area you were in and turning them on. In this case there were 3, they were 2 buttons and 1 lever. The third and final step will generally conclude by returning to the original position and activating the item mentioned in step 1. Now, the challenge of this comes in the fact that these areas are often as bright as the people who decided to discontinue Banana Nesquik, and always have some kind of nice man trying to either beat you to death with a stick or fist you until you die. This concludes today's lesson. The enemy in this area doesn't trigger until you press the first activation button, so I prepped both the doors, allowing me to press the first one before running and pressing the next one. Now I had to go through the door that the enemy just came out of in order to pull the lever. The best way I found of navigating through the dark throughout the whole playthrough was by running into walls. I ran into these walls because it allowed me to see a slight bit of light and let me find doorways. Luckily I stumbled on the lever the first time running through the darkness, and just as my dear old grandfather always used to say, run away from men trying to smack you with lead pipes. I did so and restored the power. Unfortunately, he did end up smacking the shit out of me afterwards, but fortunately my progress saved and I was back to trying to unlock the doors in the security room. Father Martin's love for Travis Scott concerts came out to ensure that I wouldn't leave. He made me watch some special ops get wrecked by wind, but this isn't any ordinary wind. It was a supernatural being called the Wall Rider. I know that because Father Martin just told me. I woke up in a padded room and hid under the bed until someone opened the door. I found it hard to decide whether these people were actually insane because they didn't have it tattooed on their forehead. I got tired of being pushed around by some of the other inmates and ran at one of the weaker ones to assert my dominance. After my display of masculinity, I tried to join the Penis Boys, but they kept the door locked. I call them that because their Sammy Davis Jr.'s are swinging in the wind. That's the whole reason. Another convenient crack in the wall later, and I was ready to apply the follow the light strategy. It's much like dying, except it usually leads me to the exit. My new quest was to join the Penis Boys. I ran through a decontamination chamber and tried to get into a security room to activate the other one. I didn't account for the baton beatdown I was sure to receive the first time. The second time I made it easier for him by locking us in a room together. But by God, by the third try I had it all. All I had to do was hide in this locker and let him run by. After that plan failed horribly, I ran into the room, slammed the door, and that gave me just enough time to smash the button before tactically bitching my way out of there. I pleaded to the Penis Boys to let me join their gang, and after being refused a second time, I threw myself out a window. I needed to find another keycard to progress through the showers. I watched Porky Hall divorce a man's head from his body before stumbling through the darkness of the showers and throwing myself out of yet another window. The Penis Boys were close enough to talk to. However, I got performance anxiety and scampered off into the darkness. I pressed a big red button because it looked inviting. Porky Hall did not agree with me. I escaped through a vent only to be thrown out of another window by an explosion. And you guessed it, ladies and gentlemen, that brings our Miles fall counter up to 2. Lucky for me, there was a nice cushy pile of severed body parts to break my fall. In the darkness, I could make out Porky Hall moseying his way on down. A few mile up shores later, and I figured out the path in the darkness. I also bullied a man with no arms by climbing. One of his friends got mad and sucker punched me, and another one groped me through the bars of his cell. The follow the light principle was put into action. Someone loved the Wall Rider so much that they wrote his name in a completely unidentifiable substance. I dropped into this tunnel and ran blindly at the walls until I found my way out, and I was now in the sewers, which I was promptly directed to find my way out of also. A couple of dumbasses didn't know how to use a ladder. It's meant to stay in one piece so you can climb up and down. You don't know how stupid you look right now. To get down this ladder, we need to employ what we learned in How Do I Post Hate 101. Run to point A, activate the valve, run to point B, activate the valve, then return to the ladder. I was also chased and bonked a couple of times by Porky Hall, but escaping was relatively easy. I don't know how, but I must have specced heavily into luck as I found my way to the next ladder almost immediately in the pitch black catacombs of the sewers. This cheeky boy was just as impressed as I was before comically crawling away to roleplay a ghoul shopkeeper. The next part of the sewers was the exact same as the chocolate room from Charlie and the Chocolate Factory, except instead of chocolate, the river was blood, and rather than the fat German boy falling into it, there was an asylum patient, and replacing the chocolate room was a sewer. Near identical circumstances if you ask me. This pitch black area took me a few attempts to figure out, then I had to get past Porky Hall, which also took a few attempts. But I managed to eventually grab onto the ladder and take myself out of the sewers to be introduced to a fun new mechanic. Moving these boxes is an extremely slow and arduous process. Boy, I sure hope this doesn't come back while being chased.
Oh shit, it came back while being chased!
Luckily, I jumped over this gap where there was absolutely zero chance my pursuers could come back later to get me.
Oh shit, they're back!
Thank God someone on the intercom was there to save me with a dumb waiter. Although it did take a while to get there and I did get hit by my pursuers. So maybe I was the dumb waiter all along. The smack was causing me to feel a little woozy here, and the doctor taunted me by showing me the exit and his succulent cheeks. Clearly the doctor got his anatomy knowledge from XQC.
Is jellyfish a herb?
Because this silly man chopped off my fingers. I need those to not use my camera, man. I hid under a bed because I only had 8 fingers left and I planned on holding onto them for as long as possible. I needed to find a key to the elevator, and after some hiding, dying and pushing, I got them and headed back. The doctor wasn't willing to let me go that easily and used his body to stop the elevator. That just made him look like a complete clown because there was an escape hatch directly above me. Father Martin got sick of my objective being to escape and changed it to finding him. For some reason my character completely agrees with this change despite Father Martin knocking me out and royally f***ing me earlier. I thank God for this room full of fire and the nice little arsonist that set it for me because it meant I could finally see everything. Unfortunately, it also meant I had to employ How Do I Post Hate 101 to turn on the sprinklers. Porky Hall used his wall hacks to kill me the first time, but after that I quickly turned both valves and activated the sprinklers. The big man got soaked while staring at me dejectedly through the crack. I got through the previously burning canteen before being pushed over by this asshole. I tried to enter another dumbwaiter and couldn't imagine why I wasn't able to. The outside was definitely the most difficult and frustrating section of the entire game. I couldn't use my usual wall strategies as no extra light was given outside, so instead I had to rely on limited lights and lightning strikes to illuminate pathways. I fell off roofs a couple of times due to not remembering this part of the game well at all, and when it came to the more complicated things such as ladder placement and which way to go when jumping, I was forced to turn to the internet and watch Steel Banana's walkthrough. So thank you Steel Banana. Gold star earned. I was killed by Porky Hall in the dark once and ran past him the second time, and after a bit more dark navigation and Porky Hall avoidance, I got back inside the asylum. The outside took me just over 20 minutes to finish, so here's a time lapse so you can actually understand what I saw the entire time. For some reason, I was still so desperate to reach Father Martin rather than just leave because I was right there. I was literally at the exit. I could have just left. I went and searched for the key to let me move to the higher levels, but in course nothing is that simple, and we were back to How Do I Post Hate 101. I found the first fuse to open the laundry chute holding the key, waited for this boy to smash open the door, found the second fuse, found the third fuse, opened the laundry chute, and the key fell down. They should have bloody called this game Outlast Ollie's Fetch Quests. I got the key and moved on with my life after f***ing this jump 3 times. One of the penis boys stabbed me in the dark, leaving me no chance to ask for an invitation to join. I ended up hiding in plain sight as they exited their room before waltzing my way into it. Nice eyes, guys. Definitely work. The floor fell out beneath me and I finally lost grip of my camera. Thank God. The game questioned my ability to navigate in the darkness, despite me not using the camera at all this whole time. Retrieving the camera was relatively uninteresting other than being pushed down, and I was on the up and up again. The darkness which I couldn't navigate through earlier wasn't dark at all. I died to Porky Hall a couple of times, did some vent crawling and corpse pushing before getting a door slammed in my face. I collected a key from the cinema and tried conversing before continuing my climb of the stairs. This is where the Murkoff Corporation finally combines with the asylum. Apparently God hates sickness. The penis boys didn't attack me for once, and I believed I was finally being inducted into joining their gang. Unfortunately, that wasn't the case, so the quest is still on. Instead, Father Martin was talking about the higher purpose again and the Wall Rider, and he told me that this key would lead to my freedom before burning himself on a cross. So I'm not really sure if I should be taking advice from this guy, but I'll have mine crunchy on the outside and a little pink in the middle. I was chased by Porky Hall and escaped into the elevator, meaning we are now in the end game. Or as I like to call it, the Cum Caves. And what lives in the Cum Caves? Otherwise known as the Wall Rider. Porky Hall finally got what was coming to him and was shredded into a vent by the Wall Rider. I met a man called Rudolph Wernicke, who was the head scientist of the Wall Rider project. He gave me some exposition about the cause of madness and deformity in the patients, being all part of the Wall Rider experiment. The only person who could somewhat control the Wall Rider without being deformed is this man called Billy, who is contained in a capsule. To destroy this experiment once and for all, I set off to kill Bill. Life support clearly didn't support the lives of these people, and I turned the valve that explicitly told me not to turn it. I don't even give a damn. I climbed an excessive amount of stairs, couldn't find my way through the darkness, and was killed by the Wall Rider, who wasn't happy about me turning off its life support. The next time around, I got through the darkness and ripped out a bunch of random wires because why not?
This brings our Miles Upshore fall counter to a whopping 3.
I smashed Billy's kill button, which the Wall Rider really didn't appreciate.
And that, ladies and gentlemen, brings the MF counter to 4.
Only this time, apparently that tiny drop got Miles stumbling. I reached the exit, and thank God the wheelchair-bound Wernicke was there to save me. And with everyone dead and Miles the new host of The Wall Rider, I did not join the Penis Boys. I did, however, defeat Outlast without using the camera. Please leave a like and tell me what challenge run you'd like me to do next in the comments below. Or leave a dislike and tell me what medieval torture device you'd like used upon me. Have a good one, Chiefs.